Good morning, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 at 9:04 in the morning. So we're beginning our day today with bill introductions. And so this morning we have Representative Donahue introducing three bills to us this morning, H24, H160, and H161. Representative Donahue, if you'd like to join us. Welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, Jan Donahue. And yes, I have three bills, and the good news is you don't need to look at any of them this morning. I'm going to briefly address H24, which is not a short form, but it's only one page. So I can read the entire thing. It's about cash payments, and it simply says a seller or lessor who offers goods or services to consumers shall not refuse to accept cash as a method of payment. And then a person who violates this section commits an unfair practice in commerce in violation of the commerce section. And it's very straightforward. Obviously, we are starting to see a problem because of our whole development of great IT infrastructure and so forth with some sellers who, for convenience, don't want to accept cash. It's not a huge issue yet. And some people have said, well, you know, we wait till it's a big issue. We wait till it's a big issue. It's a lot harder to turn it around because people, you know, resent having to be told you can't do that anymore. It's becoming a bigger problem in other areas. But the biggest problem is for those folks who can only deal in cash. They're low income. They don't have a bank account, and they are not eligible to get a credit card. They need to be able to deal in cash. So it's that simple. And I do want to say I did get one letter of endorsement for this bill from a national organization. You'll never guess, the National Association of Armored Vehicles. That's true. I'm not making that up. They all watch now. So the second two bills are actually the exact same concept about the right to repair. One of them focuses on hospitals and independent organizations being able to repair the medical equipment they've purchased. The other is a much broader consumer protection. And, you know, we addressed last session, we addressed one that just looked at farm equipment. And people who were on this committee last year will remember that. I know you have a lot of new folks. That bill passed the House with broad support and sort of got stuck at the very end of the session in the Senate changes. So rather than going piecemeal, this is presenting, we really need to address all of these products and try to get it all the way through this year. So this version actually was drafted to align with the changes that this committee made last year, rather than as introduced last year. So you folks, in the generic sense, did a lot of work on it, and that's what it was drafted to align with, but to extending to all broader number of consumer products. And you know, so both bills go into all the kind of detail that you don't need in terms of a presentation telling you why it's important to take it up, which is the sales pitch that these are supposed to be about. And you know, in the fall, I happened to stumble across this incredibly good YouTube videos, very short, but it sort of nails it on exactly why it's so important and why it needs to be addressed and all of the benefits of addressing it. So that is the rest of my presentation this morning. Is to I've got support staff here to queue up, and I can't do it. There we go.
For centuries, to build any device, artisans had to painstakingly cut every screw, bolt, or nut by hand. But all this changed in the 1790s, when British metalworker Henry Maudslay developed this highly precise lathe. Suddenly, these previously handmade components could be reproduced mechanically and at scale. This may seem like a simple innovation, but it had a profound effect on the world. The standardization of these parts helped usher in the Industrial Revolution. From cars to home appliances, the 20th century was defined by mass production and readily available interchangeable parts. This made repairing items relatively easy. If your shower head gasket failed or the hose for your washing machine sprang a leak, a hardware store likely carried replacements. Today, interchangeable parts are as important as ever for mass production. However, some companies are working hard to prevent consumers from swapping out components on their own. In many cases, repair can only be done by the original manufacturer, if at all. With limited repair options available, we end up buying new and throwing more items out. This is especially true for electronics. In 2022, we discarded about 62 million tons of e-waste, along with billions of dollars worth of precious metals inside of them. So, how exactly do companies prevent repair? Some make it physically more difficult to fix items. They can glue parts in place rather than using screws. Others limit the information they share with consumers, like blocking public access to product information and schematics. During the pandemic, for instance, when hospitals struggled to maintain breaking medical equipment, the repair company iFixit compiled a comprehensive database of repair manuals for hospitals to use. Yet manufacturers like Steris fought for them to be taken down. Yet perhaps the most important yet least obvious way companies limit repair is by preventing the interchangeability of parts. In a process known as parts pairing, companies assign individual parts, like screens, batteries, or sensors, a unique serial number. The device's internal software can then detect if those components are replaced and limit their functionality as a result. If you swap the screen on two brand new iPhones, for example, the automatic brightness adjustment will no longer work. In other cases, unauthorized replacements can cause the device to stop functioning altogether. If a farmer uses an independent shop to repair certain parts in a John Deere tractor, it won't operate until a company technician authenticates the new part using authorized software. With only a limited number of company technicians available, this can easily create a bottleneck, costing farmers precious time and money, and even jeopardizing crops. Manufacturers can also use software to give devices predetermined end-of-life dates, after which they no longer receive important updates and slowly become unusable. All this gives manufacturers unprecedented control over the products we buy and limits the way we repair them. Critics liken these tactics to a form of planned obsolescence, a manufacturing strategy where a product is deliberately designed to fail, to keep both demand and profits high. But companies pose two main arguments in defense of these practices. First, they claim that giving consumers and third-party repair shops access to their software could create cybersecurity risks. They also argue that they could be liable if a product malfunctions after a third-party or consumer repair. A shoddy repair to a medical device, for instance, could have deadly consequences, and the manufacturer could be blamed. However, major reports, like those from the U.S. Federal Trade Commission and the Food and Drug Administration, find little support for these company claims. Parts pairing and repair limiting practices are now being closely scrutinized in courts all over the world as consumers fight for the right to repair. And states, including Colorado and Oregon, have passed laws banning parts pairing. Community-led movements have also taken root. Over 2,500 cities across the globe from Amsterdam to Boise to Bangalore, have established repair cafes. Here, people trade and share their knowledge, reinvigorating a culture of repair at a time when it often feels easier to toss our things than fix them.
Sorry. Right. So that's I think a real strong summary of why this is an important bill and what we're trying to do. Make it more accessible for consumers, turn that tide on the incredible amount of waste of things we just throw out because it seems easier than repairing it. And I hope that your chair take up this bill will open the actual testimony with the same person who opened it 2 years ago here. And that is this incredible whiz kid from Berlin, who's the one who introduced me to this whole issue. When I first met him, he was in 7th grade. He had his own business fixing for neighbors and community members their iPhones, their laptops, and so forth. But was incredibly frustrated because of the problem with whether it's glued-in screws or people being worried about warranties and so forth. And he came and testified, and he had been really starting to follow and educate himself about the right to repair movement around the country. And I think those who are here can say, I had talked with him on the phone and by the internet. He blew my socks off. I mean, this kid was just so knowledgeable and so self-assured and so able to dialogue. Members of this committee stopped talking to him within about 2 minutes as if he was, an 8th grade kid. They were talking adult to him. He's now a freshman in high school, and he's been following the bills in the legislature and the national movement, and I think would be a really useful person to help give more specific background around some of the issues. So that's what the bills are about. And again, I don't think there's any point in going into details of the bill. A lot of it's very technical, definitions and so forth. It's ready to be plowed into with the experts. I very much hope that you will take the issue up.
I have a question. So, do you know other states that have sort of comprehensive right to repair laws? Are there any?
I think as a reference, but
Oregon.
And that was, I think that was done maybe a year ago or 6 months ago. So I think there are others. There is a national organization, and they are totally up to speed on the status of it in various states.
What is that national organization? Oh,
Monica, do you know what the name of I think it's the National Right to Repair, but I don't have it off the.
Yeah, there's repair.org and yeah.
okay, yeah, you can find anything.
Yeah. Yeah, just Google it.
Even that YouTube probably. But
Yeah, thank you.
thanks for your, it's an intriguing subject. I always like to fix things.
So do I. I'm a fix-it person, which is why I got so interested in this.
I live at the top of the hill, and in the summer I go to an island. And basically, something breaks, you try to fix it. It's getting harder.
Yeah, it's just pulling up repair.org and they show California, Colorado, Minnesota all have passed laws.
Great. Super.
Do we have any information on, especially the electronics, where you have a mandatory recycling program in the state? How that's working to try to reduce, electronic waste in the landfills and
Right.
recycling those parts and getting the precious metals out of them.
Yeah, I think our committee that brought that bill and so forth. I think that's a really successful way to try to get good disposal. But this is about preventing even the need for, I mean, we have become such a throwaway society.
More
And it's
spending.
really, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You were much more efficient than we figured, so, I think, Cameron, if you could take us off live, we'll come back on at 9:30 for our next presenter. Thank you.